We're standing outside the United Nations headquarters in New York City. I'm Susan Tehrani, New York correspondent for WION, and we have our Washington, D.C. correspondent right now, Sidan.
Yeah. It's nice to meet you here, and it's good to be back here in New York. It's third time I've been here. But yeah, this time, of course, COVID crisis is something that eludes me this place. I can't go inside the place because of the COVID protocols in the city.
It's just been so different. A lot of the events here at the United Nations were online. We had the Sustainable Development Goal booths. Usually people would come and visit. A lot of it was online, but I think that it was something to adapt to. But a lot was happening. A lot of leaders came despite the COVID protocols, despite the fact that President Biden said he preferred not to have so many world leaders here. But we did see a lot of world leaders come, deliver their speech. Right now, we know that leg of the United Nations General Assembly has come to an end. A lot happened in Washington as well.
Yeah.
How was your trip to Washington and your coverage of Washington, D.C.?
The first leg of the Indian Prime Minister's visit, it was busy 2 days. Bilaterals, 3 important bilaterals with the Japanese Prime Minister, Australian Prime Minister, and the big in-person meeting between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Joe Biden. Focus, of course, Afghanistan, COVID crisis, climate change, a whole lot of issues. But I think the showstopper was, in a sense, the Quad meeting, these 4 countries coming together, something that nobody could believe in terms of these countries coming together, perhaps because of the Chinese worry. Nobody wanted to anger China, but now China breaking the rules-based order, and that is why these countries have come together. A lot of outcomes, the initiative on infrastructure, 5G, the fellowship, and it looks like Quad is going to grow big with each passing year.
Absolutely, and I think it was very interesting that it really became one of President Biden's foreign policy cornerstones. We heard in his speech one of the first issues that he mentioned was the security of the Indo-Pacific and how much importance he wants to attach to that region. And we're seeing that really play out with the Quad, somewhat of a soft power kind of direction when it comes with the Quad, and he mentioned that he wants to elevate the Quad in a way as well. That was, I think, a really sticking point when it came to his foreign policy agenda and perhaps justifying his departure from Afghanistan as well.
Well, yes, of course, Afghanistan was discussed in bilateral, it was discussed in Quad, and emphasis by the Indian side has been on the resolution passed under the presidency of India. The Indian Prime Minister, of course, during his address at the United Nations General Assembly, talked about Afghanistan without taking name of Pakistan, talking about their countries who are using terror as a state policy. But my question to you is, in a sense, that how things have changed. You talked about the COVID crisis impacting UN, how things have changed in terms of covering the UNGA. When I came last, I can just go around anywhere. In fact, the Indian side inaugurated a solar park, the Gandhi Solar Park. But now how things are on the ground?
Well, it was very different, and it was understandable. From a journalistic point of view, we want all of our colleagues to be inside, cover every minute, and that's understandable. But on the other hand, we had COVID restrictions, Sidan. We didn't have as many people on the ground in terms of security to really take care of people coming in and out. So it was very limited to resident correspondents here at the United Nations. And it really didn't have perhaps the vibrant feel that it did in previous years, but I think there was so much discussion and importance attached to serious issues like the pandemic, like climate change, that it somewhat made up for it. And I think technology really plays such an important role that a lot of things happen online anyway. It somewhat made up for it, but I think we all are looking forward to some kind of normalcy, a normal United Nations General Assembly, hopefully in 2022. Lofty goals for us as well.
And
right?
then we'll meet again.
We will.
Well, that's all from New York, but live coverage of the UNGA continues with Susan here in New York at the General Assembly.
It was great to have you in New York and your coverage of Washington, D.C. and Prime Minister Modi's visit. You saw it all unfold here on WION. Do stay with us. We have a lot more coverage coming up as well.
Back to you in the studio.